me,
I think we need to see,
go ahead.
wait to go through section 9.
I'm fine with that.
Is that? So is there anything else on background checks before we move on? We will get the correct definitions again that our house has provided us. 7, application fee. Each application for a cultivation license shall include a non-refundable application fee of $15,000 by certified check or cashier check payable to the state of Arkansas, delivered or mailed by certified mail, return receipt requested to, and in this blank it should be the Medical Marijuana Commission. The only thing is we have to understand that we cannot, based on the amendment, we cannot go over 15,000, but if the commission decides to go under 15,000, we can make those.
Is the non-refundable part, I'm just thinking of people that get involved in this, kind of a harsh rejection on top of putting all that together, and they don't get a refunded application fee. Is that something that that's set in stone, or is that, I'm just kind of curious about that?
No, that's for us to, the 15,000 is as high as we can go. But making the decision on whether the applicant gets their money back if they don't make the merit or they don't make the minimum criteria is something we have to decide on.
I would
Personally,
I give it back to them, but
That's a gamble.
I mean, I think it ought to be non-refundable. I think part of what I was saying in the last meeting is I come at it with the view of we want people who are committed to the process and also who honestly have the financial wherewithal to make this process happen. I think there's also probably, there's an issue. We're trying to say, if you're going to do it, you've got to be totally committed, not just kind of playing what I'll call playing the chances, the odds of can somebody, can I get this license and then figure it out. So I mean, I would keep it to be non-refundable. And the only change I would make is I think it ought to be made out to the Medical Marijuana Commission, and at some point I guess we'll figure out if we have an address, or right now that would be, would that be?
Use our address.
Yeah, your address.
What does ABC do? What do you guys do for applications? Y'all get the money? Is it non-refundable? I just want.
It's per application. Typically, some of them are non-refundable, some of them are half back. If if your application is rejected, you get half the fee back. It's never a full refund because processing cost and things like that, we submit.
I'd like to see some of it refundable, if not all of it personally, and I know it's a different view, but I just think of if people are going to go through the effort to put an application, and I don't know how many applications we're going to end up with, but it's kind of, and I think it would encourage more people to actually get involved and have a little more economic opportunity for more people. So I'd like to see it waived or reduced with my personal feeling. I think it'd be better for your quote average Arkansan trying to start a business. So.
Well, I think in my pushback to that, I guess, Commissioner Ramon, is the issue that I would have is I don't know that the cultivators is the place where we want to do economic development work. I like the idea to have somebody who can get into being a dispensary, but there aren't very many cultivators. The one thing I think we want as a commission, we ought to be concerned about is the last thing we want is for one of these cultivation facilities to go out of business. And so having somebody who's has the wherewithal and has the ability to make sure they can fully perform is the important part. And so I mean, I think the economic availability for that is there, but it ought to be a high barrier to entry for the cultivation facilities. I mean, part of it, if you look at it, there's no such thing as insurance for medical marijuana crops. So it's something that you've got to look at whoever's going to be there. If they've grown their first crop and there's a fire, you know, they've got to be able to come back from that. They've got to be able to push forward. And so I guess just as, from a theory, it's a lot easier and cheaper to get in to doing the dispensary than it is the cultivation facility. And so I guess that's kind of how I view this. And I'll just put that out there, and that's how I'm looking at what a cultivation facility ought to be and who ought to be able to really be able to do it. I'm looking, you know, personally, I want it to be somebody who's in this for the, you know, in this for the right reasons, who can treat it like a business, make sure that they're well-funded and capitalized, so that, you know, honestly, they'll probably have more than $15,000 put into the application.
See, I
Not
would,
just